First, that video of Rahul Gandhi in Nepal went viral. The BJP was quick enough to take pot shots at him, and then he was caught in Telangana asking his party leaders what is the agenda of the meeting and what he really needs to speak about. The big question arising is whether the BJP is exaggerating all of this or whether it is that Rahul Gandhi actually was rather very clueless about what was going on. Take a look at what really happened there.
First, Rahul Gandhi's video from Nepal nightclub, and now his video from poll-bound Telangana. The BJP is in no mood to give Congress MP Rahul Gandhi leeway. BJP IT cell chief Amit Malviya tweeted a video of Congress MP Rahul Gandhi in which he can be heard asking his party workers what exactly he has to talk about during the rally in Telangana.
So what is the main theme today? क्या theme क्या है? क्या exactly speech में क्या बोलना है? यही off करिए. So what is the main theme today? क्या theme क्या है? क्या exactly speech में क्या बोलना है? यही off करिए.
The BJP leader, in a scathing attack, said this happens when one does politics between foreign trips and night clubbing. BJP spokesperson Shehzad Poonawalla also slammed Rahul Gandhi for Congress's hollow rhetoric.
The video, perhaps shot and leaked by a Congress leader who's disillusioned by the lack of connect, lack of commitment and lack of seriousness of Rahul Gandhi towards the people of Telangana. This also means that all the commitments made by the Congress party in its rally, particularly by Rahul Gandhi, have no meaning. They are empty words, they are hollow rhetoric.
The ruling TRS too didn't miss the opportunity and lashed out at Rahul Gandhi.
The video of Rahul Gandhi at the airport exposes that Rahul Gandhi had no clue about what he had to speak at the Warangal meeting, which explains that Congress party, which was claiming of Warangal declaration for the farmers, which is absolutely farce and bogus. There is no declaration because Rahul Gandhi himself has no clue about what he has to address.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The Congress, left red-faced, jumped to Rahul's defense.
These kind of videos always emerge, and when the Prime Minister stepped out and asked the media and he couldn't speak coherently, this kind of a video also came. So ultimately the point is that videos will come and videos will go, but onlookers will know what the truth behind the video is. And what essentially has happened. And like I told you, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has asked a question. What's wrong in asking a question of the state leadership?
Even AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi did not mince his words to attack Rahul Gandhi.
तो जब आपको ये नहीं मालूम कि तेलंगाना की जनता को आप क्या पैगाम देना चाह रहे हैं और क्यों आपका साथ दें, आप बिल्कुल जहन आपका एम्प्टी है. आप क्या मैसेज देंगे, क्या पैगाम देंगे और कैसे टीआरएस से मुकाबला कर पाएंगे आप?
With Congress hoping to raise its stake in battleground Telangana and BJP all ready to dent it, the war for Telangana has already begun. With Ashish Pandey in Hyderabad, Bureau Report, India Today.
What is the main theme today? क्या theme क्या exactly speech में क्या बोलना है?
Well, we've established the lay of the land and what really happened there. I'm being joined on this panel by Aiyshwarya Mahadev of the Congress Party and Charu Pragya, the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson on this issue. Let's begin this broadcast with Charu. Charu, has been long established that the Congress Party just does not have its ducks in a row and it's functioning pretty haphazardly. But asking the party leaders the theme of discussion, isn't that all right? Every leader does that. Why is the Bharatiya Janata Party today exaggerating this?
Chetty, the problem is not asking the theme of any discussion. The problem is that here is a leader who is not simply an individual. He is a person who is leading one of the primary opposition parties in our country. Here is a leader who is at the helm of affairs of this political party, criticizing every move of every other politician, especially in my party, without having to look at what he himself is doing. Now, he is supposed to behave in a responsible manner, but what does he do? all you have to do is look at his parliament attendance. You can file an RTI to find out how many times he's even uttered the name of his constituency on the floor of the House. He hasn't. He has misplaced priorities, and that is the fact. It is his misplaced priorities. It is him speaking and echoing the language of India's enemies here in this country which is causing problems. There are issues which have to be above politics. That's why you have to unite, and you have to be an Indian first. Everything else comes after. He fails to unite on even issues like that. So it is not about discussing what agenda his party has today. The agenda of his party does not matter very much, because the people of India have spoken, and spoken many times, and they have shown Congress its place. But
Yes.
it is important.
But
that Rahul
before I
Gandhi
go to
is speaking
Aiyshwarya,
out.
Charu, isn't it the job of the opposition in a democracy to continuously question the government in power? And that is exactly what he was doing.
It's, yes, I agree with you, but this questioning the government in power has to be in a positively critical manner. It has to be with suggestions. It has to make it clear that you are going to be supporting your country, your countrymen above every other thing. It's no secret that he's not supporting India. He is hailed in Pakistani parliament. He's applauded there for his statements. His statements are used by the media there against our country. He speaks the tone of China repeatedly. This has been proved very many times. Also, like I said, he seems very reluctant to lead, and that's one of the reasons why his party is struggling to remain in power. It's actually come down to a point where his party is in power in only 2 states independently in a country like this, where they claim to be the grand old party. So that's not going up, that is going downwards, spiraling downwards, and it concerns me because I'm a concerned citizen. We need a good and strong opposition in place.
Right. Aiyshwarya, I want to come to you now. How do you respond to Charu and the Bharatiya Janata Party and the optics of how all of this is looking? Rahul has attended a wedding when Maharashtra was in shambles. That too of a Nepali diplomat's daughter who actively supports Nepal's claims over regions of India's Uttarakhand. If you are in political life, you have to be answerable to these questions. We all understand that netas are humans, they have a social life, but one can't escape these attacks anymore.
Shati, good evening. I think, the BJP over years have systematically tried to sit and devalue the presence of Rahul Gandhi ji to such an extent that, a lot of people will say, oh, he doesn't matter. But there's sort of pop culture obsession with him, rather, from everything that he does, tells you that no matter what they do or what they try to do, you cannot write him off. Cheti, let me come down to the issue at hand. You're talking about exactly what happened in Telangana. I'm very proud of the fact that my leader is not one that walks up, a teleprompter pops up, and he knows everything he has to say. That I have personally worked with also Mr. Rahul Gandhi and his team during the 2018 Karnataka elections, and this has always been a consultative process. When you come from the national capital, you may believe something is the issue, but the local leaders briefing you on what the actual issues are, what you should highlight for them for a state, speaks about a proactive and engaging leader. And I see absolutely nothing to be a problem with that. And the BJP day in and day out can only sit and look and distract and point at all these seemingly what seem to be flaws of Mr. Rahul Gandhi instead of talking about the issues. And Charu said we should be positively constructive like the BJP was when all them, all the so-called ministers of today were on the streets talking about price rise, even though global crude had risen so much and our UPA government tried to buffer it. Chaiti, the singular point remains that the BJP and all the other allies of the BJP would like to obviously take away from issues at hand and bring it towards one person who for decades they've tried to dismiss, devalue and completely debunk as a leader, but they cannot seem to. And if you have a problem or a question about his leadership, did you see the rally in Warangal? Did you see the Warangal declaration? That is what the media should be reporting.
Charu disagrees with you. Let her come in. Okay, Charu, what do you have to say?
So curiosity in rallies does not translate to votes. In Rahul ji's case, that happens to be true. So I'm sorry, Aiyshwarya, I do not agree with you. Just having people turn up at a rally does not mean that they will be voting for you when the time comes. And yes, I am concerned because you also should be concerned, Aiyshwarya. I think you're a great politician and you'll do well. But the problem in your party is that here is a person who's not on any official party post. He is a mere MP, and that is how you defend him every time something goes south. But every time a decision needs to be made, he is the Rahul Gandhi, the Karta Dharta of the entire party, the big boss. So you also need to decide which way Rahulji's leadership is taking your party. Is he a mere MP? And if he's a mere MP,
it's a very important point, and Aiyshwarya wants to respond to this as well. While I'm coming to Aiyshwarya on the question of that sense of entitlement of Rahul Gandhi in the Congress party, Charu, my question to you is, it's all right if Rahul Gandhi is asking these questions. Time and again, the BJP somewhere seems to be fixated on always coming back and questioning Rahul Gandhi instead of talking about the real issues at hand, and that is what is perceived to be by the political observers.
Chetty, see, the real issues are already being talked about and discussed by my party. I say this with a lot of responsibility. So whether it is price rise, Aiyshwarya touched upon the price of petrol. Is she not concerned that the opposition states are the only states which have not cut down on taxes? So those things have to be discussed, and when we are talking about relevant issues, we are ensuring that we do our best for the people of this country. So whether it is combating hunger in the times of COVID by ensuring everybody in the entire country has one card which is usable everywhere, by ensuring that we are able to support our citizens whatever way we can, big concerns, small concerns, we are at the top of politics where India is concerned.
And there is no question, and there is no question about BJP's political equity in this country as well.
House in order.
Yeah. You speak about the house and order as well. The other point that you earlier made was of sense of entitlement. Aiyshwarya, how do you respond to Charu? It always seems like that you have Rahul Gandhi, he is a member of parliament, but there is always a sense of entitlement when it comes to Rahul Gandhi within the Congress party, while the Congress party just does not seem to have its ducks in a row.
It is not about a sense of entitlement, Chetty. Let's be very honest. Yes, we do talk about him as being a very good parliamentarian. And when you look at Wayanad, whether it's disaster relief or the sort of work and his MP-led funds being used, he's been extremely proactive as a parliamentarian, one. And second, you do realize that he is the former president of the Congress party. And there is a natural deference towards him. And a majority of Congress workers, irrespective of all the people who will come out and give you fancy op-eds but have not won elections in decades, irrespective of all the commentary that comes from there, every Congress worker has a natural respect and deference for Mr. Rahul Gandhi because we believe he is our leader. He has opened up a democratic process for Congress party elections this year, and that will happen. But the fact remains that he is a leader to the masses. He is somebody that resonates with the crowds. And when the people of Warangal wanted him there, and when Revant Reddy and the other leaders of the state asked for him to be there, you saw the response that came from him, whether it translates or not. And it is not entitlement. He has also worked within the party. And if naturally our most popular leader, what are we going to do? Are we going to boo and shoo him and say, oh no, please don't come here? I think the fact of this debate is extremely misguided, because I would much rather talk about a coal shortage. I would much rather talk about the communal issues and even, let's say, Karnataka. And your headline showed me that a CM's post is up for grabs for 2,500 crores.
Those are editorial decisions, and we are debating those as much as we are debating this, Aiyshwarya. I want to come to Charu on this as well. 1 minute, Aiyshwarya, I agree with you. Now, editorially, what we do is our call, and this is something which has been taken up by the BJP, and Rahul Gandhi is a leader at the end of the day, and, you know, very relevant in the opposition. Charu, also Prime Minister Modi's video saying, oh my God, has gone viral. Do you feel that even he was caught unprepared somewhere, and that the BJP is overlooking that but focusing on someone who's not even a slight risk to their political equity in this country?
Okay, Chetty, you know, I think there can be no comparison between what Prime Minister Modi does and what Mr. Gandhi does, because he was also on a trip abroad while Rahul Gandhi was on a trip abroad. But did you see any kind of odd pictures of Modi ji coming out? Entire trip was only about doing his best for the country. Every 10 minutes was accounted for. So now holidays are happening. I wanted to respond to Aiyshwarya about something important. She said she's a good parliamentarian. What exactly is a good parliamentarian according to you, Aiyshwarya? Is a good parliamentarian somebody who does not even meet minimum attendance requirement? Is a good parliamentarian somebody who doesn't ask questions in 0 hour? Is a good parliamentarian somebody who's got nothing to add, no private member's bill to add to the parliament? So I am sorry, he's not a good parliamentarian. You are just buttering him up by using words like that for him. Point number one. Point number two, you're saying he's using his MP-led funds. I don't know about the past, but the last 2 years there has been no MP lad funds. So since he has lost the election from Amethi and he's moved to Kerala, there have been no funds because of COVID. None of the MPs have MP lad funds. So what exactly is he doing according to you that makes him a good parliamentarian? Please, if you want the level of politics in our country to rise, you have to look at people with open eyes and judge them for the work that they do, not the work that you dream that they do.
Aishwarya, I'll let you respond to what Charu has said. The larger point being, why is it that Rahul Gandhi is almost always missing in action? You walk then into the BJP taking pot shots at you. That is exactly what is happening over here, Aishwarya.
You know what, Chaiti, after the very impassioned diatribe from Charu, I think the same questions when you look at Mr. Narendra Modi's attendance in Parliament with the sort of work that's being done in Varanasi. We understand what was happening to the Ganga during COVID, and you've also seen in the index of cleanliness index of the cleanest cities and also the areas, you've seen where Mr. Narendra Modi's constituency itself lost, and the fact that the Parliament didn't give MP-led funds, and I wasn't just talking about Wayanad, I've been talking about the years that he's been a parliamentarian, wherever it was. And thank you for picking out and pointing out that the government and the BJP have literally shackled the MPs of the country by not giving them MP-led funds. And let me be very open.
But here, Aishwarya, the debate is not on Narendra Modi. That is a separate debate, and we will conduct that as well, because we're very fair about this. But here the questions are being asked about Rahul Gandhi missing in action, and how do you respond to that outside of whataboutery?
The singular fact remains that the BJP may find it hard to believe, and they have tried so hard to dismiss this man, but the natural leader for the Congress party and for all of us, and especially youngsters who form a majority chunk, is Mr. Rahul Gandhi, because a lot of us today here, if I have the opportunity to be speaking on national television and hundreds of others and lakhs of others on the ground, it is because of him. We have a natural deference, and also we respect him, and his decisions matter, and which is why in different states he's the most popular crowd puller for us. There is no sense of entitlement when somebody says, what is the theme, what do you want me to highlight upon, because it's consultative in nature. And my leader takes a press conference, my leader does not naturally have a teleprompter up in front of him, and I really believe that this is BJP's only tactic they have left, because they're on the back foot on every issue, whether it's press teleprompter, whether it's coal shortage, whether it's the communal issues of
I got your point. I agree with you. I take your point. Charu wants to respond to what you're saying. Charu, why don't you respond to what she is asking? And also, my question is that, you know, there was a big deal made about him partying and he was attending some function also in Nepal as well. Why is it that this was such a big deal? Because a politician in public life is allowed to have a personal life too.
Absolutely. And I am never one to say that a politician should not have a personal life. It is just that why is this personal life always going the negative way? His personal life means that he goes to the US and talks about India in such unfavorable words that it becomes news all over. Are you adding to your country's growth, or are you trying to take away from it? Another thing is that repeatedly Aishwarya talks about a teleprompter. If you don't have one, maybe the BJP can sponsor a teleprompter for Rahul Gandhi ji. Because the kind of statements he ends up making, he will definitely benefit from one. And you cannot please say that you support the faux pas and the missed words and the statements that he makes, the numbers changing. So you have to be a bit more logical, please. India is a progressive nation. There are lakhs and crores of youngsters who are listening to any political leader, and they listen to everything with a lot of care and concern. You cannot be actually applauding a leader who is misspeaking every time he speaks to people.
Fair enough. And Charu, one last question to you, and I'm going to take a winding comment from Aishwarya as well. Prime Minister Modi too went to Pakistan to attend former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's birthday, and that is an enemy nation unlike Nepal. How does the BJP respond to that? Because the Congress has really not made a big deal about it as of now.
So this discussion has been there for years and years, Chaiti. In fact, that's the only thing the Congress falls back on. If a Prime Minister, new to his position, is trying to mend fences with the country, I think that is good. That should be welcomed. And if you think that it is not going the right way, it was our government which said that there cannot be talks and terrorism at the same time. So talks also stopped. And I think we have taken a very firm stand where Pakistan is concerned, a much more firmer stand than the previous government. Right. We have ensured that we hit back the enemy state when our country suffers.
Absolutely. Aishwarya, your winding comments. I'm completely out of time at the moment.
Chaiti, in conclusion, I would rather have somebody who spoke spontaneously from his heart rather than somebody who needed a rehearsed script. I'd rather have somebody who addresses press conferences and speaks to people on the ground and for issues, whether it's the migrant crisis, whether it's the rape of young children, whether it's the lawlessness in states, as opposed to somebody who sits there in his ivory tower and has a wonderful TV room to showcase his face to the rest of the country. I would prefer a leader like Rahul Gandhi who's out on the streets fighting for the rights of the common man, as opposed to somebody jetting across the world when his own country burns. And you may fault me for this, you may say whatever it was, you may sponsor teleprompters, but I will still stick by a man with sincerity in his heart, as opposed to somebody who is cold and does not care for the people of this nation. And
All
that
right,
is why
I thank you both ladies very, very much. Some very compelling points made both by BJP's Charu Pragya and Congress's Aiyshwarya Mahadev. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have on this broadcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching.
You are watching India Today.